So first things first, in one of my app videos, I think it was my second one, I suggested a period tracker, flow to be specific. After the ruling in the United States by SCOTUS, I can no longer, in good conscience, suggest that. So if you are watching this and you have been using a period tracker to keep track of your symptoms, to see when your ADHD symptoms are getting worse, I would highly suggest that you delete it. The only one that I have heard of so far that might not be subject to new rulings is the Clue app, because that one is based in the EU. So I am not entirely certain on that though. Try instead to use pieces of paper, to use regular calendars. Just try to keep it low key and untraceable. Can't believe I am saying this. This sounds ridiculous and dysphoric, but this is where we are. So I wanted to make sure that we made that clear. And now I am going to help in the main way that I know at this particular point, and I'm going to get on with the rest of it. So I felt with everything that is going on in the world right now that probably one of the best things that we could talk about is how to deal with overwhelm. So let's get into it. How to deal with ADHD overwhelm. What's up, suckers? If you are new and you are just coming in, hi, my name is Ariana. I am an ADHD coach with a productivity-based philosophy. The reason that I do it this way is because a lot of us hate on ourselves for not getting things done, and by helping you get more done or helping you get the things that you really care about done, we generally also tend to start automatically looking at the way that we look at ourselves, looking at the way that we look at our days, and it kind of automatically takes us down the roads that we need to. So welcome, and I hope that this is going to be helpful for you. If you have come back to see what else I got to say, thank you. I am glad to have you here. What the fuck, right? Anyway, if this channel seems to be helping you out and you really are getting good info from here, if this seems like some place to be, please make sure that you like and subscribe. It helps me find new people, helps new people find me, and yeah, I like that. So anyway, ADHD overwhelm. I think we all have at some point been overwhelmed, whether we are ADHD or not. More than likely, if you're here, you have ADHD, but I have had comments here and there from people who are not ADHD. So even if you're not, what in the hell? I have something in my hair. How long has it been there? Why didn't anybody tell me? Anyway, so we have all been overwhelmed at some point or another, and really the difference between ADHD and neurotypical people or other people who get overwhelmed, I don't know that there is much of a difference. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm sure that there is probably, something there that is a major difference. But for the most part, we all kind of just feel like fighting, taking a flight, or freezing. And we tend to want to get away, and we tend to struggle with moving on. I think for people with ADHD, the main thing is that we can freeze. Freezing is probably our most likely response, mainly because we don't know what to do, and a lot of us have that executive dysfunction that I've brought up in videos past. So the best way to deal with this is to do 3 things that I genuinely believe in, 3 things that I personally do and that I suggest to my clients as well. And they are thus. Thing number 1, when you are feeling overwhelmed, a lot of us feel like we need to get moving again, we need to speed up, but actually you want to slow down. And by slowing down, that can mean a number of things. It depends on what the situation is, it depends on what your personal situation is. But generally, when I suggest slowing down, I suggest, deep breaths and meditation if you can do that. If not, I suggest just sitting down somewhere. Some of you out there may be like me, wherein when I would get overwhelmed, I used to take a nap, which was super, super unhelpful. It didn't really get me anywhere, but that was kind of my body's way of trying to slow me down. So you want to maybe not necessarily take a nap depending on what you're doing. Like if you're driving, I don't want you to try to take a nap in the middle of the freeway. Don't do that. But my main suggestion overall is to try to find a way to let your mind and your body take a minute. Because what's happening, part of the reason that you're feeling overwhelmed, is the world around you is probably asking for a lot or stimulating you a lot, and you are feeling like you need to keep up with it. And the fact is you don't. So in order for you to feel more comfortable with figuring out your own pace, you need to slow down. Generally, we feel overwhelmed when we're moving too fast. So slow down. So after you have slowed down, however you choose to do that, whether that's writing in a journal, taking a nap, eating a snack, whatever, the next thing that you're going to do, item number 2, is you're going to, I can't think of another way to say this, and if you can, make sure that you let me know, but I always say to baby yourself. And I want to take full credit for this, but I'm not going to. I actually had an amazing therapist who helped me when I found out I had ADHD, and she was the one who caused me to really give some thought to this. Because I think, because a lot of us grew up being told that our emotions were drama, right? We weren't always the best at regulating our emotions. We weren't always the best at making decisions outside of impulse. We question our actions a lot, and we question our emotions probably even more. So, especially when we are feeling things that are wrongly, by the way, judged as weak or stupid, like overwhelm or sadness or fear, we immediately start thinking that we need to overcome this fear. I need to fight it. I want to punch it in the face. And it's like, okay, yes, you need to get moving again. You need to get stuff done, but at the same time, your emotions are there for a reason, and trying to ignore them or skip them or whatever word you want to use is only going to lead to a buildup of residual emotion, and then eventually you're going to explode again. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, the best way for you to actually work through it is to work through it, to think through it, to question it. Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed because my kids have a science fair project. I fucking hate science fair projects. They have, a play date on Saturday, but I'm really tired today, and I still need to make dinner, and I still need to finish these 3 reports for work, or I still want to work on things for me, and I also still need to do this, and I need to do that. So let yourself process that. Let yourself feel that emotion, feel that frustration, and allow yourself to just kind of try to put a name on what you're feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I am angry that so many people would ask for so much. I am feeling overwhelmed because I am frustrated because I'm tired and I feel like I haven't gotten any rest in a while. I am overwhelmed because I'm scared because I don't think that I'm going to get all of these things done. Let yourself process this. If you have to write it down, do that. It doesn't matter where you write it down. Write it down on your journal, write it down on your phone, write it down, I don't know, on your hand, even though that would be kind of weird, but you do you, just make sure that you write it down in a place where you can really kind of just free write without stopping, without really thinking about what you're writing. Give yourself a chance to write through it. And if you can't write, or if you would prefer not to write and you really just want to kind of think it through inside, that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of ADHDers are actually what's called external processors. So we tend to think out loud a lot, which is where even things like voice memos or talking to your damn self can help. But if you want to think it. However it takes, whatever method it takes, I should say. Just try to let yourself feel. And then as you're letting yourself feel, remind yourself of why did I say 3 times? Holy shit. Remind yourself of 2 very important truths. The first being that you are an adult, or that you're at least old enough to handle yourself. Pretty much everybody who watches this is an adult, but I don't know, don't want to assume. But the problem being, again, going back to how a lot of ADHD kids were treated, we were often told that we didn't act our age, or that we didn't enact our full potential, or that we didn't think through things. What's wrong with you was probably asked a lot. And so because of that, we tend to struggle with feeling like adults a lot, I think. We tend to think that we are incapable. And here's the thing, if you're here, that's because you as an adult worked through everything that got in your way before now. So this is going to be no different. Whatever it is, you're an adult, you're a capable adult, and you are going to think through how to get through all of this. That's something that if you have to write that down and paste it on your goddamn wall, do it. You are an adult. You are capable, and you have been capable up until this very moment, and that's not going to change all of a sudden. You'll figure out how to get through it. That's the first thing that you need to remind yourself of. And the second thing that you need to remind yourself of is that chances are things seem worse than they actually are. We also tend to, when we freak out, we tend to, as a friend of mine once put it, see a bear where there is no bear. Okay, we tend to get that adrenaline pumping, that cortisol going, and we believe that it's the end of the world. And even if we have, there's 3 reports to do and kids to feed and projects to do, it's probably not as bad as we think it is. 99% of the time it's not. So those are the 2 things that you want to keep in mind as you're feeling, as you're putting names on the feelings, as you're allowing yourself to kind of work through that initial panic. And when I go through panic attacks, probably one of the most helpful things that I've ever been told is that just like all emotions, panic leaves, panic ends, and it will end. Your overwhelm and your panic will end. And as long as you can kind of allow yourself to roll with it instead of trying to fight it, it'll be over much quicker than you think it will be. So then the third thing you want to do to get through that overwhelm is you want to break out a piece of paper and a pen. If you thought you were going to get away with not having to write shit, you obviously haven't been here very long. You need to write this part down. Write down everything that is on your mind. Everything that is on your mind that needs to be done. Because generally we're overwhelmed because of things that need to be done. But if you're not frustrated or overwhelmed because of tasks, if it's because of emotions or because of things that have been happening in your life, write them all down. After you write them all down, don't add editorials, don't add how you feel. That was a step before. We are now past that. We are trying to move forward, okay? This is us working through it. Write down everything that is overwhelming you at this particular moment. And then ask yourself, how much of this actually needs to be attended to today? And most of it might be, but there are probably going to be 1 or 2 things that you'll suddenly realize, oh, I could actually do this tomorrow. Or, oh, I could actually ask for an extension. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help, okay? I didn't add that as one of the three because it's really not necessarily a way to work your way out of overwhelm. But remember that that is more often than you think an option to ask for help. So don't be afraid to look at that list of things that are freaking you out and see what you might be able to delegate. I was actually telling a client this recently, that when you ask somebody to do something or to help you out, by the way, it doesn't have to be perfect. And, you know, if you're asking somebody to do something, especially that's like a personal thing, like, hey, could you please go pick up groceries for me? Or, hey, could you please, you know, help me fold the laundry? And the person comes back with like a different brand of cookies than you usually eat, or they fold it a different way. Better half-assed than no-assed, okay? Better half-assed than no-assed. Let them do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Most things in life don't have to be perfect. It just has to fit. Like those towels in the linen closet. They don't have to be folded perfectly. They just have to fit. So allow it. Allow people to help you, even if it's not exactly how you would have done it. It's one thing off your list, and it's something that's going to bring that overwhelm down. So you write that down. You think of what actually needs to be taken care of today, and you try to think of what can be delegated. You try to think of what can be put off. And if after doing all that, you still feel really overwhelmed, you're still like, yeah, okay, but I've still got like 4 or 5 things that do need to be done today. Then what I want you to do is I want you to pick the most urgent thing that's on that list and focus only on that thing. That one thing. Don't look at the other 3. Keep that in mind for when it's time, but only look at the one thing that is most urgent. And then I want you to think of the first step of that urgent thing. And you focus on getting that first step done before you even move on to anything else. And if there's one thing that I've realized, both being ADHD and working with a lot of ADHD people, is that most of us feel a lot less overwhelmed when we have a plan. When we have steps in front of us to tell us where to go next, we tend to feel less overwhelmed, less scared, less frustrated. So try very hard, as difficult as it's going to be, because we always want to look at the big picture, even though we're not good at looking at the big picture. I want you to try as hard as you can to just take that next step. And then figure out what the step after that is, only after you have finished that first step. Okay? Narrow it down. Narrow that shit down. Narrow down your view, narrow down what you're looking at, and you will get there, and you'll feel a lot less overwhelmed besides. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that gets you out of that overwhelm. Please keep in mind that I am here if you need me. The link to work with me is, in the video description, or if you're listening to the podcast, it is in the podcast description. I am happy to help in any way that I can. If this video did it for you, if my channel does it for you, please, please, please like and subscribe so that I can see you again, so that you can see me again. Please remember to drink water, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.